they tried to keep it very dignified, in the sense they were trying to resist from getting into a kind of showdown situation for a very long time. But the most unfortunate thing is that the very day this government came into existence, this whole question started hanging over the head of all congressmen inside the government and outside the government. His legitimacy wise, yes, DK has all the moral right to assert himself and say that he needs to be made the chief minister. You cannot say that Siddaramaiah commands a lot of number. You know why? Because DK Shivakumar is an Okkaliga. All the Okkaliga MLAs cannot be seen not supporting him, because the community will, tomorrow they go back, there'll be a backlash of the community.
Define the Congress High Command for me. DK Shivakumar says High Command will decide. Siddaramaiah or his loyalists say High Command will decide. Kharge says High Command will decide. Who really is the High Command here?
Let us be very, very sure. It is only the family, the dynasty, which is the High Command. So when Kharge, now in the last 2 days, he has tried to qualify when he says High Command. I saw a statement where he said that High Command is not one person. It is a group of people, therefore I refer to the High Command. So that qualification is a retrospectively thought of kind of thing. Otherwise, when he says High Command, he means Rahul Gandhi and Sonia. My sense is that there will be a regime change, there will be a chief ministerial change, if not now, at least in the 2 months down the line or whatever. So I feel it will be a non-Dalit chief minister with Priyank Kharge as the deputy chief minister. But whatever happens, the stability thing is gone. We will have more occasion to do shows. We'll have more occasion to speak about the crisis in Karnataka.
So you're not ruling out that the government could collapse. You're not ruling that possibility out.
No, I'm not ruling that possibility.
Siddaramaiah or DK Shivakumar? Who will come out on top in the ongoing power struggle in Karnataka? Well, the suspense continues. Closed door meetings are on, so is public posturing. Each camp is trying to flex its muscles in whatever way possible. In fact, both DK Shivakumar and Siddaramaiah are even taking cryptic digs at each other on social media. As for the Congress High Command, they're in a huddle trying to diffuse a severe leadership crisis in one of the only 3 states that they rule on their own. Now, the central question that the Grand Old Party has to answer is this: do they continue with Siddaramaiah, the 77-year-old veteran politician, as Chief Minister of Karnataka, or do they pick the comparatively younger and ambitious DK Shivakumar, the man who's been Deputy Chief Minister for 2.5 years, who's been State Congress Chief, the party's chief troubleshooter in the state as well, and someone who's been waiting in the wings to take over as Chief Minister from Siddaramaiah. The leadership tussle intensified in the last few days and has now reached New Delhi's doorstep from Bengaluru. Now, an official answer on what the High Command has decided is awaited at the moment, but we did give you a report. We did a report the other day giving you details on who these 2 leaders are and what's really at stake. Today we spoke to someone who has tracked Karnataka politics for decades, Sugata Srinivasaraju. He's a senior journalist, author, political commentator, and someone who, like I said, understands the pulse of Karnataka's complex politics. We spoke to him earlier today on the crisis, the leadership crisis, what it means for the Congress, and what to expect going forward. It's a very interesting conversation, so do watch it till the very end. Hello and welcome. I am Shubham Chohan. Let's get started. Sugata sir, thank you so much for taking out the time and speaking with me. Now, it's a question that has often come up in the last 2.5 years in Karnataka. When is that change of guard going to happen? And now it seems that it's escalated into an all-out crisis for the Congress. Before I get to various layers of this, can you tell me your overall assessment of the current crisis that is playing out in Karnataka?
Yeah, they tried to keep it very dignified, in the sense they were trying to resist from getting into a kind of showdown situation for a very long time. But the most unfortunate thing is that the very day this government came into existence, this whole question started hanging over the head of all congressmen inside the government and outside the government. And that is because, DK Shivakumar had technically led the party to victory. He was the KPCC president. Siddaramaiah had already been chief minister once. He had migrated from some other party. It was just about 10 years old in that party. So I mean, there was a lot of this heartburn issue that people who have served in the Congress for a very long time have had not have had no opportunity to occupy the chair of the chief minister. That includes Mr. Kharge, right? So there was always this outsider and insider debate, and Siddaramaiah was someone who was, I mean, who had cultivated his own circle. He had brought in his people from the Janta Parivar, and he had built a kind of a pressure group and a lobby, and he operated through that mostly. So from my reading of Siddaramaiah in the last, he joined in, I think he joined Congress in 2006, if I'm right. So
Yes.
from 2006 to now, which is about 21 years, I have never seen him behave like a typical congressman. I mean, so that has also meant that I mean, there is an element of self-respect, which sort of he displayed in ample measure. He never sort of displayed the psychopathic tendencies of other congressmen. So he had come from outside, and he kept that kind of a distance from the Congress culture, so-called Congress culture. And he also very rarely went to the Congress office. So, but the Congress did not have a choice in when it came to electoral politics, because he had somewhat risen, courtesy Deve Gowda, courtesy Ramakrishna Hegde, and others. He had risen to be a mass leader and commanded a very large community called the Kurubas. So there was a caste kind of combination which had extended itself to building a kind of social justice platform, that is the Ahinda platform. And he had sort of tried to represent that. I wouldn't say that he was the absolute leader of that thing. If he was an absolute leader of that platform, that the Ahinda platform, which would mean Alpasankyat, that is the minorities, backwards, that is OBC and most backwards, as well as Dalits. So that is the Ahinda. That is the kind of platform he tried to electorally represent, and which constitutes about 70-80% of Karnataka's electorate. So he had cultivated that, and he had been largely successful in cultivating that, although the numbers were not very, I mean, very strong in his favor. Because if that was the case, then his elections should have seen a kind of burst at the seams when it came to the total vote share. But none of them crossed 40%, the total vote share. In fact, in 2013, when he won the elections, in fact, the vote share was just about 33-34%. But the Congress had come to power then because Yadurappa had contested outside of the BJP. So he had eaten away a lot of the BJP votes. The vote shares of the BJP has remained more or less steady. When it started rising, say in the late 90s till now, their vote share has been steady, not so much the Congress's vote share. So this has been the trajectory. So this gives the large backdrop of the crisis today. He's seen as an outsider by someone like DK Shivakumar, who has remained absolutely loyal to the Congress party, in the sense that he has not moved out of the Congress party. He has presented himself, unlike Siddaramaiah presenting a social justice platform for himself. The brand image that this man has built for himself is that of a crisis manager, as an absolute loyalist. And he has displayed every aspect of the Congress culture, which I told you Siddaramaiah has not displayed. So
Right.
this is the clash of two very different personalities. It is very real. It was always simmering in the last 2.5 years. And the two groups, two camps, I would say, were always sniping at each other, saying that, I mean, this man should not be the party president, and somebody saying your term is limited to 2.5 years, or we will get our chance and all that. But one has to say, although Siddaramaia's son kept creating controversies after controversies on behalf of, I mean, I assume his father and his followers, uh, DK Shivakumar remained extraordinarily restrained. I wouldn't say dignified, very restrained, and always said, "I don't run any factional, thing in the Congress. I am not a leader of a faction or a dissenting group. All MLAs belong to me because I'm the party president. I represent everybody. So all 135 plus 5 who joined later from here and there,
Yes.
all of them, I represent all of them. So this has largely been the thing, while Siddaramaiah has been conscious of the fact that there may be a crisis point 2.5 years later, kept playing that, we kept building a certain rhetoric through his son, through his other followers like Satish Jarkiholi and Rajanna, who was a cooperative minister who stepped down recently, through such people, and keeping the pressure and saying that the chief minister's chair is not empty. He's chief minister for all 5 years. So, but now I think that thing has been disturbed completely.
Right, and it looks very evident that the gloves are off. You're seeing Siddaramaiah and DK Shivakumar fighting on social media over word power, and all of those tweets are happening, and their
But
MLAs
yeah,
on either side are saying
no,
some.
no.
But let's look at yes, you want to add to that?
I wouldn't say the gloves are off. Given the kind of harakiri or the kind of violence that regime changes usually see in states, or the kind of drama that one sees when chief ministers change or regimes change, or regimes are toppled, it has still not come to that pass. But somebody said this is probably the most dignified, power shift or power change, or staking a claim for power. It's the most dignified thing. But I said, see, dignified has to be qualified. On the surface, it looks dignified. But Karnataka's politics itself has changed in the last 20, 30 years, where, the operation is more mafioso. If you look at
Right.
the kind of, so you don't know who, what kind of sniper bullet hits whom, where, and who falls flat, and what kind of pen drive is pulled out at what point, and who is embarrassed at which point. So
Yes.
the style of operation has changed. So if you look at the social media war, I would still say it's very, very civil and very dignified and all that. But then the whole there is a paradigm shift in the way politics is conducted itself, because it's a very rich state. If you look at just
Yes.
the ADR data on what is the who is how rich among the MLAs and how ministers and all that, Karnataka is a very, very plush and rich state, and I think it set a new bar for electoral spending across India because of the miners in Ballari, then
Yes.
the real estate fellows who've got into politics. So it's, you don't get a happy picture when you look at the assembly or the council, where you're mostly looking at millionaires and billionaires who've made their wealth just like that, who are completely the new money shows in Karnataka politics. So DK
Yes.
also, you should remember, came from a similar kind. His trajectory has been similar. It is new money. It is first generation money.
Yes.
And Siddaramaiah may not have been into any business, may not have cultivated a business interest, or like Parameshwar run a medical college and made money, or like MB Patil, have a medical college or something like that. But Siddaramaiah's son, who passed away when he was the chief minister the first time, and now, Yatindra, there are lots of controversy around, their dealings as well. Lots of questions are being asked, and as a part of that, you also see the Muda scam, which
Yeah.
Siddaramaiah is deep in. So it's still not over. Although people say, oh, it's all over, it's still not over. So who controls the leverage on the Muda scam is actually, very cleverly maneuvering the regime change in Karnataka.
Right.
And it's
The,
guess
the
and my guess as to who has the leverage.
Right. I think the mafia so bit really stands out for me in terms of
No,
how
that's I think
Karnataka.
we have to emphasize that. We have to keep repeating that, because Congress, which speaks, like it is, in a very self-righteous tone about democracy, about constitution and all that, should just look at the mirror as to kind of people it has introduced into politics or brought into politics, and the kind of people who control the party's monies, and who brings in money, what kind of money. You know, it's no party is exempt of that now. Every
Sure.
party is neck deep in that. But then somebody who has a self-righteous tone probably will have to answer a little more.
Right. We'll come to the Congress in a bit. Let's focus on DK Shivakumar. You talked about trajectories of both leaders. Now, the one bit that, there are several things that one says about DK Shivakumar. Of course, he's the deputy chief minister for the last 2.5 years. He's been PCC chief. Many attribute the 2023 victory to him, that it was because of him. He has a hold over the organization. He gets in the money power as well. Two and a
Muzzle,
half years. Yes.
muzzle
So
as well.
no,
Yeah.
yes, absolutely. Now, 2.5 years into this government, do you think that he has a valid claim? Because there's talk of this alleged secret pact that DK Shivakumar himself hinted at, that 5-6 people were involved. Now, if some reports are to go by, it is Siddaramaiah who has more numbers on his side in terms of the MLAs of the Congress. One really doesn't know who stands where. But point being, does DK Shivakumar have a claim over CM post? You talked about how he's the loyal congressman. When he was behind bars, the Gandhis went and spoke, they met him, and full support was given to him. Do you think that he can now tell the High Command in Delhi that, look, it's been 2.5 years, you told me to wait, and here I am, make me chief minister?
Yes, legitimacy wise, any MLA has that legitimacy to claim the chief minister's chair, right? So he's eligible to his legitimacy wise, yes. DK has all the moral right to assert himself and say that he needs to be made the chief minister. And he's also spoken about the secret pact, which you mentioned, which he had not spoken until the other day. For 2.5
Yes.
years, he had not spoken about the pact itself. And you're also right about the 2023 elections. In fact, when I was on national television at that time, I did say that it is very much his victory as much as it is anybody else's victory, because he has led from the front. It was very difficult times for the Congress, and he had done extraordinarily well. He had pooled in resources, he had pooled in, money, muzzle, and organization, everything, and he had given his best. And I think he had positioned himself in such a way that he thought he would automatically take over. The other reason was that Siddaramaiah had lost the elections in 2018, despite him claiming, half of, more than 75% of the electorate's support as a Ahinda leader. He had done pathetically in 2018. He had not been able to retain the government. After his 5 year term, full 5 year term, which very rarely happens in Karnataka. And then when he lost the elections, he just did not lose the assembly elections for the party. Personally, also, he lost Chamundeshwari, his traditional constituency, in a very bad
Yes.
fashion. And Badami, which was a new constituency that he thought he had to keep as a kind of a standby in case he loses his home constituency. There too, his victory margin, you will be shocked to know, his victory margin was less than that of the Nota Oats. Right?
Oh,
So
all right.
this was the performance level of Siddaramaiah. And but what is the political branding that Siddaramaiah gives himself? Oh, he says, "Oh, I am the leader of the backwards. Oh, I am the leader of the Dalits. Oh, I am the leader of the Kurubas. I am leader of the minorities." But do the numbers add up to actually the claim of branding that is there in him? No. On the contrary, Shivkumar has never made any such claims. Shivkumar has always said that I am a loyal congressman. The High Command has to reward me for having been loyal. I have the other legitimacy claims comes from the fact that in the past, wherever Congress regimes were in trouble, he had gone there as a troubleshooter, moved them out to a resort. So he knew the resort game very well. When
Yes.
Maharashtra, Deshmukh's government was in trouble, he was the one who had nursed the disgruntled MLAs and stabilized the whole situation, whatever. And then when Ahmad Patel was in trouble in Gujarat during his Raj Sabha tenure,
Yes.
he had actually again sheltered the MLAs and ensured a slim victory for Ahmad Patel. But unfortunately, Ahmad Patel is not here to sort of reward him today. The power has changed. Somebody else is calling the shots today. So he is probably at a small disadvantage as regards that, because the institutional memory of what he has done probably died with Ahmad Patel to a large extent. Even when Krishna was chief minister, I remember I used to be very active reporting, at those days from Karnataka. And even he was Krishna's crisis manager, SM Krishna's crisis manager. He is now, of course, SM Krishna's relative, because his daughter is married to SM Krishna's grandson. And SM Krishna, you may recall, moved out of the Congress and joined the BJP. But that did not matter, their personal relationship. But he emerged during SM Krishna's term. He used to, they say, quote unquote, manage funds and resources and money from then on. And so he has cultivated, he has networked within the Congress, and he has done everything that any other successful congressman will do to build that profile for himself. And now he feels completely jeopardized because of a man who came from somewhere else, like the rhetoric in Karnataka, that whole, Siddaramaiah is loyal to nobody who actually made him big in politics, and except himself. So he's not loyal to Devegowda. He's not loyal to Ramkrishna Hegde, who actually initiated. He was an independent MLA in '83. So it was Hegde who brought him into the Janata Parivar and gave him a cabinet role of the Kannada Development Authority, which used to be which used to be called the Kavalu Samiti, thanks to the Maharashtra Karnataka, tussle
Yes.
over a linguistic tussle and all that. So he used to enjoy a cabinet role right from the beginning. But it was Devegowda who made him a mass leader, because Devegowda had this potential to recognize that the Kuruba community, which had still not found its identity at that point of time, if it found its identity, needed a leader, and that leader could be this man. And there was a natural alliance between the Okaligas and Kurubas at that time. And the greatest advantage of Kurubas was, unlike the Okaligas, they were spread across Karnataka. The shepherds were across Karnataka. So they would make a small difference in every constituency of 5,000 votes, 10,000 votes, 5 to 15,000 votes. So if the victory margin in an assembly election is small, they would always play a big role. So that is how Siddaramaiah became a mass leader, courtesy Devegowda and the Janata Dal. And in 99, when the Janata Dal split, and one part went with J.H. Patel, George Fernandez, and Nitish Kumar, and famously became Janata Dal U. And now, what remains as Janata Dal Secular remained with Devegowda and others. At that time, Siddaramaiah did not go with JDU or Lok Shakti, which was floated by Ramakrishna Hegde. He remained with Devegowda because it was a natural combination in Old Mysore region to have the support of the Okkaligas. So, given all this, DK, who electorally that did not build a big footprint like Siddaramaiah, because he did not have a kind of godfather like Devegowda, but he he did the traditional Congress way of building resources for himself, networking, and his influence, of course, did not go beyond that small Kanakpura region or rural Bangalore. But he
Right.
commanded resources. He could spend money. Then he had a certain kind of a daring, which in another language could also be called shamelessness. To present himself in a certain fashion, right? So
Yes.
that daring and other things had made him a leader of sorts. So his claim to the chief minister's chair cannot be delegitimized.
Right. You focused about caste. You talked about Vokaligas, the Kurubas. I want you to elaborate on the role of caste in Karnataka politics. To me, it looks very complex from the outside to understand the caste system. Here is, on one hand, Siddaramaiah, a Kuruba leader. He says he's a leader of the backwards. On the other hand, like you rightly said, DK Shivakumar says he's a loyal congressman. A Vokaligas who's a loyal congressman. Now, over the last 2 3 days, in fact, as we speak, I'm seeing some visuals on television of seers coming out and giving out their opinion. It just reminded me of 2021. I think Yediyurappa was chief minister and Lingayat seers met him in huge numbers, offering their support. What does this? How does this play out in Karnataka politics when seers come out, speak, try to
No,
play
see,
or give their opinion?
see, traditionally the seers were only Brahmins. There were only Brahmin mutts. But there was a unique sociological phenomena in Karnataka. One which is very old, that is the 12th century Sharanas and Lingayats and others having mutts. So there were Brahmin mutts and there were Lingayat mutts. So there was a kind of, these two were extremely organized, socially and culturally, very, very organized communities. So, but later in after the 80s, more pronouncedly after the 80s, everybody in Karnataka thought, because the caste imagination is pretty dominant in Karnataka, like it is in Bihar, not so much in other
Right,
places of India. So everybody else thought that they had to organize themselves. See, several communities realized their identities. There are, see, for example, Valmikis who belong to the scheduled tribes. They are a bit like the Kurubas because geographically their community is spread across Karnataka, and every constituency they have a small role to play. Not a big role, but a small role to play. So, if you want to win a narrowly fought election, they play a very decisive role. So, a lot of communities like Kurubas, shepherds, for the longest period, looked very merged with the Okaligas. It is only later that their identities got separated, right? So then the Valmikis came into some kind of self-realization, and in when Chandrasekhar was the prime minister, Devegowda got them into the ST list, so the scheduled tribe list. So it was Devegowda was a past master at breaking these combinations so that some person does not run away with all the electoral gains. So it was his way of breaking SCs or STs or whatever electorally to control the game. That's a smart politician's game. So Kurubas, he gave them a kind of life. STs, Valmikis, he was completely responsible for their identity to emerge. Once that started happening, there were other smaller backward classes which also thought they should have mutts because that was a ready sociological model to exercise influence and control resources. So there's very little, although they wear saffron and all that. I've always written about this. The caste saffron is very different from the saffron of religion. You know,
right,
the saffron of caste is entirely different from the saffron of religion. So in Karnataka, that is the distinction that one makes. Although with the emergence of the BJP, there is an effort to blend the saffron of the caste with the saffron of the religion. You get the
right.
difference. So now in the
Yes,
last 5 or 6 years, something fantastic, fantastic in the sense sociologically looking at it, has started, which is it started about 10-15 years ago, but it has seen a certain kind of re-emergence and consolidation in the last 5 or 6 years, which is the subcastes inside dominant communities have started asserting. So as a result, if Lingayats voted as a bloc for the longest period in history, in Karnataka's democratic history, now the biggest bloc among them, which is the Panchamsali subsect, you know, they feel that they are largest in number. They have continuously allowed the election of a chief minister who belongs to a subcaste which is minuscule among them. Most of the
right,
Karnataka chief ministers who are Lingayats come from that small subsect called the Banajigas. So there has been that kind of resentment. So there has been new quota demands. So if that is what you see among the Lingayats, which for the first time in history, the vote looks splintered of the Lingayats.
Right.
Excuse me.
But does this play at in such a when you are facing when there's such a kind of a leadership crisis, when these people from communities come
No,
out and
it
speak in
does.
the open, does it have any bearing?
Yeah, it does have a
Or
bearing because the numbers you finally will count. You referred to the numbers that Siddaramaiah has, and initially I'll come to the numbers. So it all depends on the numbers, right? So if you caste
yes,
wise, if you count the numbers, and if the caste MLAs remain loyal to their factions or their mutts or their seers, then the whole thing is locked.
right.
So going by that logic, you cannot say that Siddaramaiah commands a lot of number. You
Hmm.
know why? Because DK Shivakumar is an Okkaliga. All the Okkaliga MLAs cannot be seen not supporting him because the community will, tomorrow they go back, there'll be a backlash of the community.
Right.
They will say, our man had to be the chief minister and you fellows did not work for him, so why should we vote for you? So that question will come up. Now, the Lingayats don't like Siddaramaiah as much because he ordered for the caste survey and he also sort of tried to say that Lingayats are a separate religion, which the seers don't like, or the BJP does not like, or there are lots of other groups which don't like that because their ability to leverage power goes away if you sort of put them into a religious minority category or if
Correct.
you splinter them on their subcaste category. So there is resentment from Lingayats against Siddaramaiah. Now backwards, there are 102 or 104 communities, according to the last backward class reservation list. Now in that, except for Kurubas, nobody seems to be happy with Siddaramaiah because their major allegation against Siddaramaiah is he has only worked for his community. What has he done for us? Right?
I see.
So the two dominant backward communities are Edikas, the toddy tappers, and the Kurubas, the shepherds. The toddy tapping community was represented by the great Bangarappa at one point of time. Dr. Rajkumar, the greatest thespian of Kannada cinema, is a Etika. BK Hariprasad is an Etika. So these two communities, the 15% that there is in the reservation for the OBCs, these two communities are accused. I mean, I'm not saying they are accused of having cornered a lot of the resources and a lot
Hmm.
of also claiming power. So there is a resentment there. Now it leaves Dalits. Now the Dalits again, the left and right Dalits are split in Karnataka. The
Right.
numerous Dalits, the Madigas, the most numerous, the 70% or 60% of Dalits vote with the BJP. You will be surprised. The Madigas, the more oppressed vote with the BJP. Largely, I'm not saying everybody,
Yeah. Of course.
largely.
Yeah.
K.H. Munyappa, who used to be the Union Minister of State for Railways, is a right hand man in the Congress. But who controls the Dalits in the Congress? It's Kharge,
Yes.
Parmeshwar. So they are not seen. I mean, there is a new question about them because they say that these don't represent the numerically large Dalit groups. They have not been part of the Dalit movements. They are all quota Dalit guys who have come into the Congress and claimed power in the name of Dalits, but they have not done very little to mobilize Dalits. So they are not mass leaders. Kharge is not a mass leader. Whatever the central AICC may say, he is not a Dalit mass leader. I'll give you an example. In 2008, he was the KPCC president. He was fighting Yediyurappa, who was the BJP president, and Yediyurappa comes to power then. Reserved seat, maximum reserved seats went to BJP, not to a Dalit president of the KPC. Forget every other seat. I'm speaking about reserved seats. So they have never commanded that thing. So there is a splinter in the Dalits as well. So when there is so much of splintering, now tell me who can claim the numbers in the Congress? So it finally
Right.
becomes the High Command's discretion. That is what I was arriving at.
Which brings me to my next question, which I'd written down. define the Congress high command for me. DK Shivakumar says high command will decide. Siddaramaiah or his loyalists say high command will decide. Kharge says high command will decide. Who really is the high command here? Is it Rahul Gandhi? Is it Sonia Gandhi? Is it a
There is
mix of
not.
all three of them? Who is the high command? Before I come to the Congress and what they are trying to do.
There is no mix. Let us be very, very sure. It is only the family, the dynasty, which is the high command. So when Karge, now in the last 2 days, he has tried to qualify when he says high command. I saw a statement where he said that high command is not one person, it is a group of
Yes,
people. Therefore, I refer to the high command. So that qualification is a retrospectively thought of kind of thing. Otherwise, he is when he says high command, he means Rahul Gandhi and Sonia Gandhi, and probably by a far extension, Priyanka Gandhi, but mostly these two. So there is no confusion about that. No congressman will say that Kharge is the man who runs the party. Kharge may have improved the processes within the Congress party. Kharge may have lessened the headache of Rahul Gandhi, because Rahul Gandhi, I don't think, is a very meticulous manager of things. So, I mean, this man is a good administrator, all said and done. Kharge is a decent, very decent administrator. So he must have put things in place or processes in place. So he must have, he runs it like a hired CEO, and the
right.
investors are these two. So if you get that model of a private limited company, so the owners and investors are Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi, and to a small extent Priyanka Gandhi. And this man is a hired CEO, and the board is also controlled by them. Okay, if you look at the CLP, where no mass leader is generally allowed, so everything is controlled by those two. So he is a kind of hired CEO. So there is no confusion who the high command is, and that is the kind of sycophantic orientation which is very natural to the Congress, which started in the during the times of the emergency. I have referred to it in my recent book, how the ailments of the Congress organization started during the emergency. So it is very, very clear, the committed kind of they threw out people very clearly. See, Devraj
Right.
Aris was the most successful chief minister of Karnataka, right? And he was the one who gave absolute rebirth to Indira Gandhi's political career. But within a year, she sees that he's out of the party. He frustrates him to leave. So the kind of high command that she built, or the idea of a high command that she built, where power is concentrated in the hands of one or two people within the family, comes from the emergency time, and that continues now. And DK knows to play that game very well. Not so much Siddaramaiah. Siddaramaiah, there is that self-respect, and I mean, he comes from a different kind of background, right? So he may
Mhm.
not use it so overtly,
Right.
but DK plays that game very well. So there is no confusion about the high command.
Right. So let's look at the Congress nationally, and then let's look at the picture in Karnataka. This is not the first time that we are seeing a Congress chief minister and the deputy chief minister at loggerheads. For instance, we saw it in Rajasthan. Sachin Pilot displayed that ambition. He went away with his MLAs only to be then coerced, and then the Gandhi family steps in, and then that is sorted. Now we are seeing this play out publicly. What is it, and why is it that the Congress is struggling to contain these internal fights?
No, that is very clear, right? The Congress High Command, about which we spoke just a minute ago, does not command the same kind of respect or control that it did, say when the UPA was in power. See, they have been out of power for the longest period of time, and there is this kind of resentment that Rahul Gandhi is not able to pull off anything for the party. So, see, why did people in the Congress, completely do the I mean, follow the feet of the family? It's because the family could deliver victories, but in the absence of victories, some I saw some graphic doing the rounds, an unfair graphic. 95 defeats being attributed to Rahul Gandhi from
Yeah.
2004 on, or whatever. But I mean, that 95 is an exaggerated number. But still, what is the one thing that comes to your mind the moment you say Rahul Gandhi? It is electoral defeat.
Defeat.
And the Congress, in 2023, 2024, when it got 99 seats in the parliamentary elections, made the mistake of reading that as a signal of its rebounds. That that extra number had come courtesy, that 50 extra had come courtesy, yeah, I mean Akhilesh Yadav or Stalin or somebody else, their allies, right? It did not come in Bihar or somewhere else. It came in other places courtesy the other allies. But the Congress
Right.
misread that. I have been emphasizing on that because if you look at the combinations where they won, those seats, they may have gained 5 or 10 on their own, but the rest of it was courtesy their allies, right? And even during the formation of the India alliance, what did they do? Nitish Kumar, who actually took the lead to form an alliance against Modi, was shown the door, was frustrated out of the whole thing. Devegowda, who was with, a secular alliance at that point of time, was also completely, sidelined and not even invited to the Patna meet, the first India meet, because the Congress had won Karnataka and they thought that they have to dispense with all these characters. But those characters, going forward, helped the BJP retain power in 24. So the larger narrative is one is of electoral defeats. They have not been able to deliver victory, so the family looks weak, so the high command looks weak, and therefore there are dissensions which they cannot control. So these people who are local strongmen have a greater voice. That is one part of the thing. The second thing is also that the Congress high command has not been able to give you a cultural narrative to counter the kind of narrative that the BJP has built for itself, which has formed an air cover for the BJP,
Right.
right? BJP's air cover is Hindutva. So by default, 20-30% of the Indian vote just goes into that. Everything else is what they have to work for. But the Congress has to work from zero to build an electoral victory each time. So
Right.
that kind of an absence of a narrative against cultural nationalism, absence of an electoral, victory, decisive victories, has made them look very weak. So look at Hemanta Biswa Sarma, look at anybody else. Now Assam election is going to come. You'll see more of that rhetoric coming out. So this is where the problem is. So they have been weakened, and they have contradictorily, ironically, been speaking about democracy the most, constitution the most, but the very basic structure of a democratic process is that the leadership thing is always very open. Anybody, look at Mamdani. Everybody's knickers got twisted. I mean, liberals started celebrating Mamdani's victory in New York, right? But how did Mamdani manage that? In the Democratic Party, he was an outsider there. He was on the extreme left. He was in the DSCA, the Democratic Socialist Association. He
Yes.
comes in and takes over the Democratic Party primaries and agenda, pulls the Democratic Party to the left, and wins an election. So, because the Democratic Party functions democratically, a Mamdani could enter and pull it out. Because the Republican Party is far more democratic than the Congress Party, a Trump who was an outsider could go in and capture the Republican Party with a new
Right.
narrative of his own back then in 2016 and now. So, is
Right.
that possible in Congress? Have they kept it open? No. The BJP has kept it open. It's very easy to say that the Congress is that, it's a party of the freedom movement, blah 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 blah. But it is not the same party of the freedom movement. One has to emphasize that it's a party of Indira Gandhi which splintered and created these narrow routes for itself to control power. So that party is different, and that party has been a closed party. So if there was new talent, probably somebody else had greater competence to challenge a Modi. Modi is not invincible, but it's just that you're not, the liberal ecosystem has not put its best foot forward.
Right.
That is.
Before I come to the last question, just a slight point to add. You talked about how the Gandhi family, and that is right, Gandhi family is at the core and the crux of the Congress. Then doesn't that apply to the BJP as well? That just two people taking the call. But the differentiating factor is whenever there is an internal crisis, the BJP seems to always manage that better with compared to the Congress. So, say if you just talk about Karnataka, do you think the BJP handled the Yedurappa crisis, the last 2021, when Bomai was then made the chief minister? Do you think they handled that transition well and juxtapose that to what the Congress is now doing with Siddaramaiah and Shivkumar?
No, you're absolutely right about the BJP. It is often pointed out that two people control the party, but the two people did not are not dynasts. They rose in the party. In fact, there was so much of objection to Modi becoming a prime ministerial candidate from Advani and others, and from Sushma Swaraj, Anant Kumar, all kinds of people in 2013 or 2014. So he emerged within the national executive of that party to become the prime ministerial candidate in Goa, and you know the history of that.
Yes,
So
yes,
ever since, he has held on to power because he has delivered. You may question, he being dominant. He is dominant because he has delivered results. If Rahul Gandhi had delivered results, I don't think we would have even spoken, had this question. So it's part of the Congress propaganda. The moment you say dynasty, they'll say, oh, are there no dynasties in the BJP? Yes, there are dynasties in the BJP, but at what stage, at what level? Is the top closed? Tomorrow, Gadkari can become prime minister. Rajnath Singh can become prime minister. Can you say that Chidambaram or somebody else in the Congress party can become prime minister? The moment it happens, you know what is happening to Shashi Tharoor. If you get
yes,
slightly ambitious, I mean, that's the folly of the Congress party. What was the G29 or whatever in the Congress party? So it's very
absolutely.
easy to build that propaganda to say no, 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 they are as fallen as us. No, your problem is the core. Their problem is that the core can be changed. And why is it that you speak so much about the RSS? There is an external pressure element. Does the
Yes.
Congress have any check and balance system like that? No, right?
Right. So lastly, how do you see what we are seeing now? How do you see this play out? Do you think the Congress will be able to contain this crisis? Do you see a change of guard, or do you see a dark horse, say someone like Parmeshwara, who's himself thrown his hat into the ring, saying, "Well, I could also be the next chief minister of Karnataka." What is your sense?
My sense is that there will be a regime change. I mean, there'll be a chief ministerial change, if not now, at least in the 2 months down the line or whatever. That is number one. I don't think that Siddaramaiah commands great numbers. It's actually a kind of mythology that has been built. And I think DK controls around 50-55 MLAs. And if you have a number of 140, that is 135 plus, and if you have 50, your minimum majority point is, minimum thing is 113, right? You still destabilize the government. So whoever becomes the chief minister or whoever retains power, I think the crisis has set in. It has already destabilized the government, and I am very cynical if this government will ever be stable again. The Congress government will ever be stable again. And plus, I say this with a little more confidence because there are so many legal embroilments, corruption cases. It could be Muda, it could be something else, and the leverage of that rests with the the top. I mean, the on the other side, I would say, with the central leadership of this country. So
Right,
if it's still not close, so the leverages are elsewhere. Somebody else may be the real puppet. Somebody
right,
else may be controlling the puppets, right? So they may actually give you a certain kind of trajectory to play, and because their ultimate thing is Congress Mukt Bharat. So if
right.
Congress can destroy itself, and they don't have to take the blame, right?
Right. So you're saying two things. You're saying you sense that there will be a change of chief minister. You would want to hazard a guess. Do you think it'll be Shivkumar, or they'll look for a consensus candidate in form
No,
of some other leader?
no consensus fellow can survive, and Parmeshwar is certainly not in the matrix for the simple reason that if Parmeshwar is a Dalit, if Parmeshwar comes in, then it completely, what happens to Kharge? Kharge is a national Dalit leader in Karnataka, and Kharge easily concede that chair to another Dalit when he is still around, and when his son, he's so ambitious about his son. So I feel it will be a non-Dalit chief minister with Priyank Kharge as the deputy chief minister.
Okay, with Priyank Kharge as deputy chief minister.
That is a possible thing. See, I mean,
Right.
we're all journalists. We are
Of
allowed to
course, of
guess,
course.
and I mean,
Yes,
we are allowed to put out names. Okay, but
absolutely.
I don't see Parmeshwar having that leverage. Parmeshwar is also, see, has lost a bit of credibility in that gold smuggling case, and he has not
Yes,
performed extremely well as a home minister.
home
And
minister.
I don't think he's assertive in his thing. But I don't see any other dark horse. See, Satish Jarkiholi is also saying that I am also in it, but
Yes,
they say that Siddaramaiah has been making an argument that he's willing to give up, but he'll not give up for DK Shivakumar.
right.
But he will give it up for someone like Satish Jarkiholi, who also has been a migrant and who actually propped him up the first time as chief minister by spending money. And he's a money resource for Siddaramaiah, and has been a very good friend. But given the ego of the Congress party, will they accept that kind of a conditional stepping down? No. So I think Satish Jarkiholi may become, if DK becomes chief minister, he may become party president.
Right.
There is a kind of a give and take that will be worked out. But whatever happens, the stability thing is gone. We will have more occasion to do shows. We'll have more occasion to speak about the crisis in
So,
Karnataka.
so you're not
And keep
ruling out that the government could collapse. You're not ruling that possibility out.
No, I'm not ruling that possibility out.
Right. And just before I
Because
let you go, one question.
it
Yes,
is
sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
splintered. No, if 50 MLAs, 20 MLAs, they sit as a separate. Already there is talk of a no confidence motion in the Belgaum session,
Yes,
which is going to come up, right? So
yes.
if disillusioned characters who are not in the government or who are in the opposite faction can just pull it down, right?
Right.
So who will
One
you
last
make?
question before I let you go. Yes, it's like you said that it is going to be Rahul Gandhi, the Gandhi family, specifically Sonia and Rahul Gandhi, who will decide what happens next. What is the biggest problem that is sort of stopping them from sorting this out? It has been playing out for so many months and weeks now. What is that one big obstacle that is stopping the Gandhis from biting the bullet and sorting this out once and for all?
One is that they have no smarts to sort it out. They have no political wisdom to sort it out. Two, they don't have political power to sort it out. Smarts, and they don't have executive power. They don't see, you can control only when you are delivering, right? They themselves are seen as losers, as someone who have completely weakened the Congress historically. So what can you command? If somebody says something, as long as they're in the party, as long as they're getting some kind of whatever power or whatever, they'll listen to you. But when you deny them something, they become Hemanta Biswa Sarma. Simple.
Absolutely. On that note, thank you so much, Sugata sir, for taking out the time. It's been lovely to just over the last 50 minutes just hear your thoughts. And like you said, we'll get more chances to talk more about what happens in Karnataka next. Thank you so much, sir, for taking out time
Pleasure.
and joining us on
Anytime.
HW.
Anytime.
Thank you.
Thank you. I enjoyed talking to you. Thank you.